it was a big ego thing for me. I just wanted to grow, and I was so excited about that. And we did grow. We grew to 8 lawyers in this first 18 months, but we were not good. And we realized we're not good. And we just felt like, man, we cannot spend our careers being mediocre. And so we pivoted, and we literally cut our firm in half and went down to just family law in early 2015, January of 15. And we said, we're going to be excellent at that. We're going to be great at family law. And so we went down to 4 lawyers, let half our clients go, half our staff go, and started over.
Welcome to the Free Lawyer Podcast. I'm your host, Gary Miles. The Free Lawyer Podcast is designed for the lawyer, entrepreneur, or professional who is in some way unfulfilled, stressed, or stuck, and is looking for something better. We will discuss various blocks that limit us from achieving the personal freedom that we all desire, but have not yet fully experienced. And we will give actionable steps to free yourself from them. Are you looking to achieve a new level of success? If so, this podcast is for you. Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode of The Free Lawyer. Really happy to have each and every one of you today. This is going to be a great episode. I have with us today Jeff Sterling Hughes. Jeff started his own family law firm in Wisconsin, starting out just by himself, and has built a huge successful family law firm. And he has a lot to teach us about how to grow our firm, how to be successful, and still enjoy practicing law. Jeff, how you doing today?
I'm great. That's a very gracious introduction. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, it's well deserved. You know, Jeff, briefly, before we really get into the growth of Sterling Lawyers, tell me a little bit about your professional journey in law and how you came to start your own firm.
Yeah, so I originally joined law school not for any just lofty reasons, but because I grew up very, very poor, and I didn't want to be poor, and that seemed like a path there. So I don't have one of these like great stories of like I wanted to just help humanity. It really was born out of just a fear-based mentality, really. So I went off to law school, graduated in 97, and came here to Wisconsin, joined a small firm. Had pretty good success there in the first 6-7 years, made partner. Then I left that practice all entirely about a year later and ran a digital marketing business that I'd started. Then came full circle, and back in 2014, we decided that we wanted to get back into the law business. And so we launched our family law firm. Actually, it was a general practice law firm in 2014. So it'll be 10 years old in June of this year. We started off doing a little of everything, grew really rapidly. In the first 18 months, we grew to 8 lawyers, and we were just bad, though, quite honestly. And we
Let me interrupt you just a second. So you started in 2014. How did you grow so fast to 8 lawyers so quickly?
Well, we have a superpower in our ability to attract attention online. So that was really how we did it. So remember I talked about like in 2005, I started the digital agency selling Dish Network satellites. So I learned how to market online really well. So I took that skill and brought it really into the family law realm at that point. So that gave us an ability to get going really quick and start to grow.
And how did you market primarily? Online, but through what vehicle?
Primarily through digital. Online would be paid search to begin with quite a bit. And then we worked really hard to get found in the maps. And so back then maps were just kind of really starting, and then the organic side of it. So we really mastered those 3 channels and that was our foundation.
You know, it's funny. I've had some other marketing folks. You're not a marketing folks. I've had some marketing folks on the program. And sometimes I think, lawyers will think, another marketing person. But your story shows when you master it, it really works, doesn't it?
It does. And it's all about getting attention. So we looked at it as a way to get attention. That anywhere we can get attention from our ideal client, that's what we were trying to do online.
Great. And you said you did some things bad. What kind of mistakes did you make in the beginning?
Oh man, I don't think your podcast has enough time on it. So initially we wanted to be all things to all people because we could get clients. We felt like, well, because we can get clients, why not just get as many as we could in as many different practice areas as we could? And so it was a big ego thing for me. I just wanted to grow, and I was so excited about that. And we did grow. We grew to 8 lawyers in this first 18 months, but we were not good. And we realized we're not good. And we just felt like, man, we cannot spend our careers being mediocre. And so we pivoted, and we literally cut our firm in half and went down to just family law in early 2015, January of 15. And we said, we're going to be excellent at that. We're going to be great at family law. And so we went down to 4 lawyers, let half our clients go, half our staff go, and started over.
So when you say you were bad, I guess what you mean is you're trying to practice law in too many different areas in which you weren't particularly skilled, and you decide to focus, niche down into one area.
Right. We were measurably bad. I'm talking bar complaints, many client complaints, and it was just a bad deal. It's a bad situation.
Gotcha. So tell me how you went up to 8, didn't do so well, went down to 4, focused on family law.
Right.
How did you grow after that?
Well, once we started to focus, that changed everything within our operation. So we wrote our copy on our website different. We built all of our systems differently internally. We rebuilt our fee structure to go to fixed fee. So we did so many things that were geared towards serving family law clients. We hired for that. We hired for empathy versus like some other type of skill set that was better in another area. So in every area of our practice, it transformed how we operated in that area. So that began our growth. So by the end of 15, we were back to 8 lawyers. So we grew, we doubled, and I think more that particular year, and went from 4 to 8 lawyers by the end of that year again, but all focused on family law this time. So that was the big turning point for us as a firm. And so once we had one area to really concentrate on, we could build everything around being great in that one area.
So the message to lawyers who are listening to you today is, when you're trying to grow your own firm, don't try to be everything to all clients, but pick that practice area that you're particularly interested in, particularly skilled at, and really focus on growing that.
Correct.
Great. And so tell me what happened. What is Sterling Lawyers like today, just 9 years later?
Yeah. So today we are in Wisconsin and Illinois. We have a total of 25, I think 26 attorneys now. We'll do over 15, probably close to 16 million this year in revenue. And we're 100% fixed fee. So we have 0 hourly cases. And we like that. And we think our clients really, really enjoy that as well. And our focus as a firm is really the drumbeat is on client service. We want to be known for that. And so we're not known for that today, frankly, but we want to be. And so we have really focused on that for the past 6 to 7 months, and everything we're doing. It's just constantly beating that drum: client service, client service, client service.
So I practiced family law for the last 15 years of my career, pretty much exclusively. And I talked to a lot of other family lawyers, and I know there's an incredibly positive move to do value-based pricing or fixed fee, similar concepts, but slightly different. But the challenge a lot of people ask is, how do you do that? You don't know what the other party's going to be like. You don't know what the other lawyer's going to be like. You don't know if they're going to respond to discovery or file motions. How do you figure out what's an appropriate fee?
Well, there's dozens of ways that fixed fee won't work. So let's just go ahead and acknowledge that right now. So you can come up with all kinds of legitimate reasons why it won't work. But there are, I think, winning arguments on the side of why it will work. And for us, the way we have chosen to do it is that we give the client, when they meet with us in that initial consult, 3 different numbers. We tell them, okay, for the first X amount of time, well, it's usually a time-based, sometimes it's event-based, but for the first segment of your case, your fee is going to be this and this only. And then we give them a quote for the next stage, and then we give them a trial quote. And that's usually much more significant. But we also know that less than 4% of our cases get into that third segment.
Right.
And so that allows us to be pretty accurate. Now, yes, we do get burned on some cases, but on overall, it's a great experience for our clients and a great experience for our lawyers as well. So it really merges those 2 interests. Clients want the case over. They don't like hourly billing any more than you or I like hourly billing, because we don't control it. They like that certainty. and they're willing to pay for certainty as well. So the lawyer's in the best position of anyone to have a reasonable estimate as to what that value is. And so quoting on that is what works for us. So it doesn't work for everyone. You got to have a comfort with ambiguity to get it to work. And it's taken us years and years to solve this puzzle to get here. But from an efficiency standpoint, where our lawyers do extremely well from an efficiency standpoint in their collections, our clients are happy. We have really high client service scores. And one of the things they always point to is the fee certainty, because it aligns the interest of the lawyer and the client better than hourly does, for sure.
Oh, it absolutely does. I think the hourly billing requirements create conflict between the firm and the lawyer, because the lawyer feels pressured to bill a certain number of hours. And honestly, some lawyers say, I don't have enough work to bill those hours, but they expect me to bill those hours. So there's that conflict. And certainly a conflict between the law firm, which wants the matter to take longer so they make more money, and the client who wants it over faster so they pay less. But this really aligns those two. So do you divide it based on sort of pre-suit investigation and settlement discussions and kind of discovery and trial? Is that sort of how you break it down?
Oh, I wish we had that much data to write it right in the beginning, but we'll give them a quote in that first 45-minute consult. And we do that over time. We've developed a number of, I guess, criteria to look at. So we'll look at children. How is it contested? How contested is it? And that's a lot of that's art. You're just kind of trying to feel out the client, because most clients would tell you it'll be over with quickly, but it doesn't work that way. Yeah,
no, it doesn't.
You get it. So we'll look at all of those things, from the financials to the debt load to the clients to the county that they're in, and if we know opposing counsel, we'll factor that in as well. But we've developed a tool for doing that, and it's a bunch of selects and radio buttons. Click, 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 and you get your number. So it's a blend of art and science. The art comes from the experience of the lawyer doing the quote. So we tend to have our more experienced lawyers doing those things. But we also have about 50% of our consults done by non-lawyers. And that took months and months of training to get them to be able to issue spot and make those initial quotes in a way that the lawyers who have to fulfill on that agreement are going to be happy with. So blending those two up, having communication it's been tough, but well worth it.
And how and when do clients pay that agreed cost for that stage of the case?
Well, about 40% of our cases they're on a payment plan, but the payments are final, or they're done by the time that stage is over with. So they're usually 5-month payment plans. So that's about 40 to 50% of all of ours. And the other half of them are all paid up front. So our clients will pay up front for those stages that they go into. So our accounts receivables are 2 or 3%, very, very low, because we get paid up front.
And so many lawyers in the family law arena struggle with receivables, because they start handling the case. The client gets behind on paying the fee. It's hard to get out of the case. It takes a couple months, though. Payments come in. Okay, I'll wait. It doesn't come. And all of a sudden you're in the hole, and now the trial's coming out. The court doesn't want to let you out. So not having those receivables really adds to profitability, and it encourages your lawyers to be efficient, which they probably find fulfilling.
Yes, for sure. They can give the client the time they want, and clients will communicate with them more too. They'll tell them, because they're not afraid of getting dinged for, a $60 bill just to send them an email on something that happened over the weekend. So you get better communication. And the idea has always been, the fear has always been, look, my clients are going to just drown me in calls and everything else, but that has not happened. It happens in one-off cases for sure, but those happen also in hourly too. So we have not seen an appreciable difference whatsoever in client neediness and time consumption going from hourly to fixed fee. It's counterintuitive, but that's what we found.
Well, and I've heard that from other lawyers too. And I encourage all of you listening to really look at this model, because truly it has so many benefits. Other than using value-based pricing or fixed fee, Jeff, what sets your firm apart from others in terms of your approach to family law and your client service?
Oh, I think a couple things, Gary. We focus really, really intently internally on communication. Communication is 80% of the success that the lawyer will experience with a client. It's not the legal outcome. The outcome is far down the list. It's communication with the client, empathy, and the back and forth dialogue that the clients really, really value. The lawyer values a legal outcome, but the clients value the experience and the communication and the easing of the anxiety through the process. So once we learn to really focus in on that and not on what we as lawyers want, we love the creativeness of the law and the arguments and the debate and, the crafting of the great phrases in the marital settlement agreements and all that sort of stuff. All that's well and good, and the clients need that, but that's not really what they want. If we can give them what they want, they'll respond. So that's where we're really focused internally at. Outside of that, we've got a lot of data. So we're really, really big on collecting data and making decisions that are data based, almost to the point where we can be too analytical and miss sometimes on how we approach things. But those are probably the factors that set us apart. We also have one other thing is we have professional management. Our leader of our firm today is our president. I'm the CEO. We have a president who handles all the operations. He's a non-lawyer, but he came up through basically the printing business and learned how to manage and lead there. And so he's super skillful from a standpoint of just managing the relationships and so forth. But we also have legal leadership in there as well that head up the legal teams, but he heads up the entire firm.
Two things I want to highlight in what you said are communication and empathy. I take all of our incoming calls from prospective clients. I'm amazed how many times they'll tell me their lawyer won't call them back or won't answer their email. And it makes no sense to me because we're in business to provide a service and get paid. The client wants a service. They have a question they want answered. They want it answered. We get paid to answer it. It's a win-win. But I hear that so often and I don't really understand. And the other is empathy. Empathy is not a trait that seems to be naturally affiliated with lawyers. We're problem solvers. We're assertive, aggressive, persuasive. But empathy in the field of family law is so important. We're not therapists, but our clients need to be heard, don't they?
Yeah, they do. On the issue of empathy, I about 6 years ago read this book called I Heard You by Michael Sorensen. And I have a low threshold of empathy in my nature. It's just who I am. And that's to my shame. But I read that book and it transformed how I saw empathy. And we've trained on that and we've boiled it down. The book boils it down to very simple methodologies for expressing and demonstrating empathy to clients. So it's really, really great book if you want to bone up on your empathy skills.
I'll check that out. I Heard You, right?
Yeah, I Heard You, Michael Sorensen.
Fantastic.
Michael Sorensen, yeah.
How do you see the practice of family law and how family law clients are served changing in the future or growing or getting better?
Well, I see larger law firms sprouting up with economies of scale, getting more and more leverage to build because of digital. So when we started here in Wisconsin, the largest family firm I think had 4 lawyers. And today there are 3 other firms that have 10 or more here in Wisconsin. We're seeing that in Illinois too. We're in the Chicagoland area. So technology and the marketing abilities of law firms is really growing. So you're going to have I think smaller firms are going to have a harder time competing. There's certainly little niches and sub niches and small communities they can thrive in, but that's happening quite a bit with these bigger firms starting to grow. And technology has given us more and more access to data that we're able to make decisions off of, not only operationally, but also from a marketing and lead generation standpoint. And who knows what's going to happen with the deregulation. I think some form of that's coming. At least it'll start happening in more and more jurisdictions in some way or another, and that will change things. Also, we all talk about AI, right? That's a buzzword, and we don't know how it's going to impact us. We just know that it will in some way. And I think we're probably higher up the tree, so to speak, from low-hanging fruit for AI within family law. But there are certainly other areas of law that are more exposed to some of the automation coming there from AI.
Yeah, and that certainly is coming. Jeff, what advice do you have for lawyers or law firms who are looking to innovate and grow their practices?
Well, it always starts with the leader. So when the leader gets better, the team gets better. So if I'm talking to a young lawyer starting off or someone who wants to scale their firm from 1 or 2 lawyers to 4 or 5 or 10, it starts with you. It starts with the ability to lead yourself. You are always the most difficult person to lead, and learning how to lead yourself will give you the capacity to then pass it on and lead to others. So growing as a leader, number one, is this first step. And the second one is maybe counterintuitive, but find ways to fail. I mean, I could give you a very long, detailed list of our failures and only a few of our successes, but those successes were major wins for us. But it took a lot of iterations and failures to do that. And what I have found in the practice of law, like all of us see, is that we are very precedent set based, right? Our whole common law is based off of precedent. We're tradition bound, and it takes a different mentality to set that aside and try new things and not be afraid to fail at them. So finding ways to fail well would be my second encouragement.
So like you said, it's counterintuitive. My question is, how can lawyers do better and grow? And your answer is by failing. It doesn't seem like the right answer, but I know it is. Can you explain how we grow to be better lawyers or better law firm through failure?
Yeah, so I can give you some just examples of that. So when we went into fixed fee, the ideas that I had on how fixed fee would work don't even exist anymore within our firm, because they have all one by one been eliminated as a good idea. Okay. So, but that took us.
What do you mean as an example?
Yeah. So like when we first started, I thought we could set our fee schedules off of court events. Okay. So like for us in Wisconsin, we have a 4-month waiting period. And then we have our first initial meeting with the judge. You can be defaulted on that hearing. You can be done, or that it just sets the scheduling for the case from there. And so we would tag our first fees off of that first stage. And what we found was that varied too much. And we found that our lawyers would too often allow clients to extend that to the next hearing because maybe they didn't prepare enough, or maybe the client complained enough, or whatever. They were working against their own interest and the client's interest as when they would do that. And so that took us quite a few years to kind of sort through that until we'd figured out how to do these in a time-based way. But then what that required us to do is be very, very proactive as a firm. And we're in a reactive world. The family bar, at least in our 2 states, is very reactive to each other, reactive what the judges tells us, the court order, the opposing counsel, and so forth. For us to change that mindset for all lawyers coming in has been really difficult, to be really proactive. So it took us quite a while to figure that stuff out. So that'd be one example of failures. We've had a ton of failures in how we handle intake. Intake is really difficult because your call flow and your call volume is very uneven. And so we would staff up, and then we would overpay. Then we would try to outsource some of that, and that wouldn't work really well. So I could go on and on with all of these kind of iterations of how we have managed that. And we're still working through some of those today. A third one has been consults turning into clients, the sales aspect of what we do. That has been maddening to try to get some sort of stability across different months, because you always have these seasonalities, and what happens is lawyers will get busy, and so they have less time for consults, and so we extend the consult date out weeks, and then clients drop off, and it becomes this constant, like an accordion of trying to solve that problem. So that would be another example. So many, and then I could go on one more, Gary. One of the things that I thought we would do really well when we started the practice was I thought we would do exceptionally well at the management of the team, the leadership aspect. That's something that I felt like I did well. And I learned over the years that, boy, I had so much to learn, and I had a big ego around that when we started. Learning how to manage lawyers and professionals was way different than what I had been doing in the years prior to starting the law firm. So those skills took a while for me to really sharpen and develop before we got that right.
Just one follow-up question about your billing. I assumed that you did it based on some court schedule, something in your process that you would tie the stage to, and you said that didn't work. That would seem logical to me. That's what I would have chosen too. But instead, you went to a time-based system. What do you mean by that?
So when a client engages with us, it'll be, just for round numbers, it varies a little bit by county. We've developed processes that we alter these by county and by state. So let's just say the first stage is 6 months. So what we'll do is we'll quote them a fee, and let's just call it $8,000 for the first 6 months of representation. Then it'll be, from there, it's like a 9 months. So those are the cases that usually are settled and defaulted. Then it goes into the next 9 months, and we'll charge them a fixed fee for that. And it's typically about the same or variation a little up or a little down, depending on what's going on. And that'll be the next stage of that case. And so they'll have
Which
full
would
cover
typically be discovery and the like.
discovery. Yeah. You don't get a lot of discovery in family law, as you know, but you do have some. But more often, it's usually guardian ad litem work and social worker work, things like that has to take place. And so that'll happen. And then if the case is set for trial after that last period, then we go into a trial phase, which is generally 3 to 4 times both of those first numbers.
Right. Wow. That's fantastic how you figured that out. And I think it really is a lesson to all of us that we should consider doing that because, I had a huge landscaping project done last year and it was $23,000, $24,000, seemed like a lot of money, but I said, sure. But if they said to me, we'll charge you $50 an hour, we'll have a crew of 8, we don't know how long it'll take, we'll bill you every period of time, and it could be $10,000 or $50,000, we don't know. I just said, no way. But yet that's what we do with law. And so it just makes sense, Jeff. It just makes sense. And I bet your associate attorneys like a lot better too, because you're not pressuring them for how many hours they build today. We're interested in them getting their work done quickly.
Yeah, and they're not tracking time, which they love that. But what's really quite interesting is our lawyers, as a average, collect over $50,000 a month. That's the average. So it's not like they're not working; they're working just as hard as they always have, but they're able to be more efficient at the process of doing that.
So let me ask you this: it's easy to track how hard a lawyer's working by tracking their hours. One lawyer billed, 50 hours in a week and one billed 20, one's not working as hard. How do you track when you have a staff of 25, which lawyers are really producing and which ones maybe not as much?
Well, we still track their collections, so we know what their collections are. We track consults that happen and whether or not those consults turn into clients and when they do that. So there's still a lot of ways that we can measure performance. But a lawyer who wants to hide and not work, they can do that for a period and they can just kind of hide under the radar. But eventually we'll start asking questions like, hey, what's going on? Why are your collections down where they're at? So, and the way our comp plan is set up, every senior associate has a partner group they're a part of. And so those partners are paid on how well their group performs. And so you have another level of accountability there. So they're keenly watching these things. They're not just left to their own devices. So there is a lot of team accountability that goes on there.
Jeff, you manage a lot of lawyers and you work with a lot of lawyers and against a lot of lawyers. You talk to a lot of lawyers. What do you think is the biggest problem or one of the biggest problems lawyers are facing today in this challenging world of law?
I think the one that jumps to mind would be holding on to how things have always been done. I think whether we like it or not, change is coming. And I think our profession is one of the last to really be impacted by technology advancements, but it won't last forever. And we're going to have to open our willingness to look at other things, other ways to do things to serve clients. So I think it's the biggest thing. If I were focusing just specifically on family law, I would say compassion fatigue is a big problem. And it's something that we as a firm are cognizant of and fight against because lawyers get burned out. It's really, really tough doing family law, as you know.
And how do you help your lawyers manage that compassion fatigue, particularly in a field like family law, where we get connected with our clients, we're rooting for them, we want the best, and they're so emotional?
Yeah, we've done formal training on that internally, and I can't say that it's moved the needle significantly other than it's raised the conversation. So we have conversation around it, which what we're trying to do is impress on our team that it's okay to talk about this out loud and to express it and to take the time you need to get into a place where you can serve our clients well. And so that what that translates to is we don't track vacation, for example. We take the time off you need. We're not watching over you and making sure you're, butts in the chair at 8 a.m. until 5 p.m., that sort of stuff. So we treat them like professionals and we expect them to perform that way and be human, and not just be a robot and be able to handle these tragic stories day after day after day without having an impact on them. So mental health
That's really fantastic. I was thinking, I was sort of my eyes open when you talk about you don't track vacation, and there's kind of not a hard limit to that, because so many lawyers who work in the billable world feel they don't get a vacation. Because you could say you have 4 weeks vacation, but in that month they're still supposed to bill the same number of hours. They're on vacation and they're feeling guilty because they're not billing hours. And I just think that's really wonderful that you're flexible with your staff, with hours of the day and hours worked. I just think that makes their life so much better.
Yeah.
That's great work, Jeff. Your story really is, to me, inspirational. And you may know I call this podcast The Free Lawyer.
Yeah.
Because so many of us feel our practice owns us. And to me, it's all about how can we practice law and still enjoy a level of personal freedom. Mm-hmm. Jeff, what does personal freedom mean to you?
Oh man, that's a good question, Gary. It's what I tell my kids. I try to encourage them to get an education and be smart so they have options with their future. And so for me, freedom is about options. I want the option not to work today. I want the option to be able to do something with my kids. I want the option to work a lot if I want to do that, if I want to make more money this month or whatever the case may be. So it's about creating options. That's for me what it is. It's not a dollar amount. It truly is how many options can I put myself in a position to enjoy.
Fantastic. Jeff, I love everything you shared today. I really, really appreciate your time. For those who are listening who are interested in learning more about what you did and how you did it, how can they best get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm an open book. So I have a podcast, as you know, where I have talked a lot about fixed fee, a lot about all of these things. So you can always go there. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can email me at jhughes@sterlinglawyers.com. I'm happy to help anyone that I can. I field these questions quite a bit one-on-one with folks that have questions about fixed fee or family law or whatever. I just really want to help family lawyers learn what we've had to work hard to learn and share with them so we can all get better. There's plenty of clients out there for all of us. There's really no competitors at all. There really isn't. There's a lot of ways to serve.
I think that's so important what you said. There's a lot of clients out there. I think this is a world of plenty, and those lawyers who look at it as a world of scarcity create so much stress for themselves. Sometimes they think about how can I get clients from that other firm or beat them to the next client. And there are plenty of clients out there waiting to be served. What is the name of your podcast, Jeff?
The J Sterling Hughes Show. So J Sterling Strling Hughes Show.
Great. Well, everybody, check out that podcast. It's really, really good. And if you have an interest in family law and making your practice better, check it out. Jeff, thank you so very much for your time today. I really, really appreciate you.
Thank you, Gary. It's been a lot of fun.
And thanks to all of you for listening. I appreciate each and every one of you. And as always, please be well, be safe, and be free. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Free Lawyer Podcast. Wherever you are listening, if you enjoyed what I shared, please leave me a rating and review. I would appreciate hearing more about what you like best and what topics you might like me to cover in future episodes. If you are interested in experiencing a more fulfilling and a more successful life, please contact me at www.GaryMiles.net, where you can schedule a free discovery call with me so I can learn more about you, your challenges, and your dreams. I appreciate each and every one of you and have a great rest of your day. Thanks to all of you for your support.